What's up? Welcome to the Stat Guy Show, episode number 8. My guest tonight is none other than Chris Rankin. How's it going, man?
Yo, what's up, buddy?
How you doing tonight?
I'm hanging, bro. I'm hanging.
So what's up? Off season right now, I'm guessing. So what are you working on? What do you got going on?
Just today, man. Just been working on the cars that are here at the house. Just replotting them. We've used a basic four-link plot calculator over the years, and I got something different now. So I'm just working on plotting all those cars and their bolt holes and all into the program, so I can start using it more frequently as I want to go from different setups. We've or big tire and small tire. Obviously, we've been back and forth between squat and anti-squat, and I'm kind of mix it up a little bit now with something a little different that I've not done before. So I figured I needed to kind of get a handle on this setup, and I figured a better calculator would be more efficient for me to work. So just been doing that today. Got the new car obviously being underway with HFR fabrication. So until I get that thing in my fingertips, I'm just keeping busy with what I got here.
Hell yeah. So a lot of people probably know you from being on all kinds of Street Outlaws episodes, different shows. But what were you doing before you started racing on TV?
So, man, so long and short is I've always been a professional racer of some sort. I'm a diehard competitive guy. So I started road racing motorcycles professionally back in 1999, and I drag race cars in IDRC. I used to do like import drag racing with my Starion, which is my first car. That's the car that we now have entry level. It's our small tire car that we run in all the small tire compliant races where it needs stock firewall, stock front suspension deal. So that car I used to run small and big tire, like a medium sized tire, like 11.5, like a 1350 tire. But we would run import stuff and up and down the East Coast. Say 800-900 horsepower, 4-cylinder G54 turbo car back then. And I've been doing, we did that basically as our way to promote the shop that kind of sponsored me back then, which was called EIP Tuning. And they were an import guys. There's a lot of Volkswagen stuff out here on the East Coast and in Westminster, Maryland. So we were big street racers down in Baltimore and Northern Parkway and Wabash and Route 70 in Baltimore. And that's where we all kind of started our stuff off, man. And honestly, when the Street Outlaw show first came out, I didn't really watch it. A buddy of mine, Craig Harvey, came into my life back in like 2014, 2015 when I originally bought the Relic. And he's like, man, you got to check this show out. I was like, I've seen it, man. I just can't watch it. I was like, that's what I'm doing. Just done this shit for so many years, man. And to see these guys doing something that I wish I should have, could have been a part of. And he's like, why can't you be a part of it? I'm like, I ain't got nothing fast enough. So one day we were at the track and this guy came up to me and had the Relic. Basically, he's like, you need a Conquest? You need another one? I was racing my Starry on there. It was just a small block Chevy. And I think at that time I got rid of the electromotive standalone. It was a turbo motor. And sorry, I had calls to come in. So I went to just basically carbureted, all natural, all naturally aspirated car just to get away from the headache of tuning. And back then it was MS-DOS and laptops had battery life for like 5 minutes and things were tough. So I just went to basic stuff, and I met this guy up there as we're drag racing this basic 400 small block Starion up here in Mason-Dixon, Hagerstown, Maryland. And he asked me to buy the Relic, and it was just a half-finished chassis in the back of a barn on a trailer. And I went and looked at it and ended up buying it. And I said to my wife, I'm gonna buy this thing. She's like, why do you need this thing? I'm like, because I'm gonna go race these cats that are on the show and I'm gonna whoop their ass. She's like, yeah, whatever. I said, I'm telling you, man, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna show these guys what this Conquest car is. I'm gonna put it back on the map. And sure enough, man, we just jumped out there and I chased AJ down a little bit, beat him up on small tire and old heavy and that Relic, and beat him up on the streets and different tracks. And next thing you know, we were part of the show, and here we are.
Oh yeah. So I was gonna say, you were obviously, your staple is Fast in America for the last couple of years, last 3 seasons. But you were also on JJ's show a couple times, right? I mean, that's probably was that the first time you were on Street Outlaws? Was on the Memphis show?
Yeah, so the first Memphis show I was on, I went down with a team, Pennsylvania Street Outlaws. We actually blew the motor up down there testing, and then we thrashed for 2 nights, swapping out a short block, getting the car back together, and we ended up racing Dennis Bailey down there. it didn't actually get aired, that race, because sometimes there's so many races they only air what they can air and they have time for. But then we went down after that with Mid Atlantic Street Outlaws, and we raced with them against Memphis. And then I invited JJ out to Berkeley Springs, West Virginia's airport, and there's a no prep race out there. And they came up there and raced us there. And I was on small tire, so I decided I'm going to stay on small tire there. And we raced everything on small tire, small and big tire. And then we went pretty far, and we didn't win, unfortunately, but we went far. And JJ knew who we were at that point. He really, took a liking to us. And then at that point, man, we just kind of chased him around at some of his arm drops, and we won multiple arm drops, went to the finals, multiple arm drops, and we learned the game real good. And JJ knew we learned the game real good, and to the point to where he was like, "Man, is Rankin there?" So, at that point, the show came around, man, and we got invited on the show, and it's just, it's been an adventurous, from that point forward. Went out to Illinois or Chicago, and we raced with 4 or 5 on that event. That was interesting. That was an event right there where I never thought I'd be on a road or ever see that kind of unicorn road. Amazing. Like when guys are going 14s on an asphalt road, it's telling you that it's amazing. So I broke my car out there, actually. People may say, "Oh, Rankin loses, you cry or make excuse." It's hard when you go to a show and you break. You want to be able to tell the fans, tell the people what happened, no matter if it sounds like an excuse or not. You had a legitimate reason you broke or you have a problem, but it sometimes articulates wrong with TV. But you got to take it. You got to take it to go with the bad. We broke out there. We beat the shit out of our car out there, dude. I had to run track tune-ups on the street, and I cracked cylinders, and it was popping and carry on. And I hit boost safeties that I had set up on the track that I never would have thought I would have hit on the street. But that was an interesting time, and that was a really good time. And then we did Mega Cash Days season 1. That was a really good time as well. Lost to Bobby to Cody out there by a bumper, as they say, and it was literally by like a tag frame. But
how was that experience being out there? I mean, I know you did the Mega Cash Days this year, the second one. Did they change it up as far as how long you guys were out there? Did they do the same thing where like 16 drivers raced the first night and then or whatever for a couple days, and the next 16 or however it went? It seemed like you guys were out there for a long time on first Mega Cash Days.
We were still out there a long time. We were out there 3.5 weeks.
Damn.
Yeah, I think from like beginning November to that. Let's say beginning of December. I don't remember. I can't even remember the dates, but it was like almost 4 weeks.
I would imagine there's probably a lot of testing going on late at nights on the side roads out there.
You know what, dude? It really wasn't, man.
Really? Okay.
Dude, there was a couple. Once people made some changes and had to figure out some setups, they went and did what they had to do outside. But honestly, man, everybody kind of knew there was no duplicating what they needed. So they just kind of stuck to what we had there.
Nice. You got 3 sons, is that right?
I got 3 boys. Colby, who's 12, Caden, who's 18, and Connor, who's 19.
Does the 2 older ones rate? I know one of them races, right, for sure.
Yeah, Caden races. Caden races. We made Cassidy's with us this year.
Nice. How was it having your son race with you?
It was awesome. It's surreal, man. He's a true competitor, and he's really fast. He's smart. He's got an engineering brain. He's really into it. You know what I mean? And he's a big part of my program and his program. Our program is strong. A big part of him is our program, and it's tough when I go racing without him. He's a big wrestler too, so he's got a lot of activity in that, and it keeps him really occupied in training and fitness. And he can't always make race events, so sometimes I have to go without him, and it's a tough one.
Yeah, I can imagine. Now you've done your.
But my oldest boy is a big motocrosser, so he doesn't. He's part of our crew, but he motocrosses, and my little one motocrosses. My oldest boy, I'd love to get into a car, but he's into his girlfriend and his motorcycles. He's got a Ducati and his dirt bikes, and that's his life.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. So you've definitely done your fair share of arm drop chases the race. Clearly, definitely on Street Outlaws. Do you have a preference? Do you prefer that over, say, a flashlight start, or what do you like?
Nah, I definitely prefer a flashlight start. I mean, arm drop, I feel like is an advantage when you know it. If you know it really well, it can be an advantage. Um, but I like drag. I mean, I like all of it. As long as you're good at it and you can be good at all of it, it doesn't really make a difference. But I like flashlight just because there's never any critic going to complain about a flashlight race. That's the biggest thing. So when it comes to that, that's the easiest part of saying that that style of drag racing is the cleanest because there's it's first to the finish. It's a heads up race deal, and whoever's the quickest on the light and to meet makes it to the finish first is going to win. And there's nothing in between. But
Right.
you got to get good at the arm drop, though, bro. You got to know the game. People get mad too, like if you play the game and you win, but the only way you're going to be good at it is to play the game and be the best at the game. It's like don't hate the player, hate the game. It's like, but people get mad sometimes, man. If you play the game and and then so do other people that are being part of the show. They get
Yeah.
mad too if somebody's good at it.
I'm sure. I'm sure. You brought up how fast you guys were going in the Chicago episode on the 405 show, and a lot of guys have talked about how fast they were going on America's List season 2. Did you see it was inevitable that you guys were going to be switching to small tires because the big tires were going just too fast on the streets?
I don't think it was that reason. I think if anything, going fast is fun. So if you can go pull over 3Gs on the street and you can pull 1060 foots on asphalt, there's no more. It don't get no better than that, man. It's exciting and it's
Right.
fun. Holding 2.5 plus Gs, second gear shift. It's badass. I think small tire went that direction because everybody nowadays, small tire races, there's so much less big tire racing out there, and there's so many more small tire enthusiasts. So if you think about it from a perspective as a stage, it's a bigger stage for small tire guys, and
Yeah.
it's a bigger platform where you're going to have more people that are going to want to watch the show and be a part of it and participate. Just because there's a lot more than people out there. Everybody nowadays has got a $15,000 Mustang with an LS motor and a standalone in it that can go 5 something on a marginal surface. You know what I mean? And everybody's got traction control. They make this shit while we sleep now, right? So there's no reason why anybody should be like, "Oh, you got traction control. I don't."
Yeah. Yeah.
Or if you don't, you should.
Yeah. 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 Do you think so? Do you think this show switching to small tires definitely gives the small tire guys, the normal, the hardcore small tire guys like yourself, just more opportunity to be on TV, to be part of it?
I think it allows everybody to be more a part of it too, and I think it allows everybody to be able to relate. It's like when they were saying before when the Street Outlaw stuff used to got to the pro mods and people couldn't relate, you know, because they couldn't afford a car like that. They can relate to a small tire because everybody, most of these guys are running small tire, even if it's just a basic street rod Nova, you know what I mean, or street rod, I don't know, C4 Corvette, something that's not really the most common spectacular race car out there. If they want to go out and participate in some sort of all steel, all glass class small tire, they can.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So let's talk about the new car you're building. I've seen some pictures on your Facebook about it. Well, why are you building a new car?
So I want to go threes like the rest of the fast guys. So I figured if I'm going to do it, I got to do it with something a little bit better of a platform. Against what most people might say, yeah, it's not a 112-inch wheelbase. It's it's not that. It isn't a Hemi Pro Charger. It's not that either. I stuck with what I know. I stuck with turbos. I went with a 41X because my tuner. So I do all my own power managing, but I have a tuner, Greg Powery, who's my main guy. When I have tables, I have tuning issues or fuel trims, I go to Greg, GP Tuning. He's my man. He helps me out, and he was really familiar with this motor. I bought it from him. It had been 370s in the past, so in a 2,950-pound radial car. So I knew that my car would be lighter than 2,950. And he didn't have the knowledge back then, honestly. Let me rephrase that. He's got more knowledge now to make that motor go faster with the same setup now than he did back then because the technology was a little less a couple of years ago. So I'll be able to make this car competitive enough to do what I want to do with it, with turbo, against what most people might think. Am I going to be the underdog? Sure, I'm okay with that. If I struggle a little bit, I'm okay with the struggle bus a little bit too. I'll take that too. But there's a lot of I got a lot of buddies that are Puerto Ricans because I used to do IDRC stuff back in the day. And Kiko, who's part of my team, he's also Puerto Rican. He's a good friend. And Rolando and these guys down in Florida, and this guy named Gabby Chassis down there works in these 92 to 95-inch wheelbase Toyota Starlets and Corollas, and they're running 570 and 580 and a quarter mile. And these guys are doing it. And when I sit there and tell them, "Oh, I'm going to struggle," they laugh. Like, "Oh, these guys do it with stick shift cars and." 3-rotor and 4-rotors and things that are just a little more unnatural to the natural displacement of what we're used to. And they got it figured out. So I'm like, I'm up for the challenge. I built my brand around the Conquest, the Starion. It is also my first car. I bought that car when I was 15. I still have it. So I figured I'd just kind of stick with it. We stretched everything to the limits to the rules, where it's within the rules and the guidelines, the wheelbase and all. So Henry Freifogel at HFR Fabrication is one of the baddest, if not the baddest, ass chassis builder in the Northeast Mid-Atlantic area. Smaller shop, but they're very smart, very ingenuitive. They think outside the box. And Henry can do everything within the car from start to finish. So he was my guy, and it just so happens that I was very fortunate that his shop was only a stone throw from my business, so it's easy for me to pop in and out without driving them guys too crazy. So,
but so I gotta imagine the plan is to get involved with No Prep Kings this season, correct?
That's it. So that's the plan. I have no solid plan with it yet. I got invited on a team, but I didn't say yes or no. I guess I'm going to wait for production to get back with me and decide what they want to do, where they want me, or how they want me, or if they want me, and see how it's going to go. I don't really know what the plan is going to be, but one way or another, I'm going to chase some of that. Whether I have to race my way in or I get brought right into the Invitational. I beat a lot of those guys on the street, man, and I think it's my turn to beat them on the track. It's one of the benefits of that race, I guess, when it comes down to it, is you're not cutting you don't have to race for 400 or 500 approach through. It's just instant green. So either you're good at guessing the green light, or you just take it safe and play it safe, and you try to cut the best light you can, and hopefully you don't leave nothing on the tree. But it's the biggest thing with the Pro Charge Hemi guys now is they're so fast and short. They got them zoomies for the downforce. They do really well on the front side of the track. The back split isn't as good as the turbo car, though. So hopefully I could definitely make myself presentable in those tracks where the surface is really good, to where I can back split better than them by a long shot.
Yeah. And your combo will be twin turbos, correct?
Yeah, you have 288.
Yeah, so I know, as far as the competition and combinations last year, Lutz did really well. Robin Roberts did really well with twin turbos. You know what I mean? And I think, not knowing the weights offhand, but I think you got less weight with twin turbos as well, I think, compared
it's
to
heavier. It's heavier. It's heavier because it's heavier. I think so. With my setup, like on a 36-inch tall tire, I got to be 2950 with a lockup. Do I need the lockup? Not necessarily. I could take the lockup out and save 50 pounds. I'd be 2900. If I put a 34.5 tire on it, as of the rules for 2022, I would be able to be 2900 with the so 2900 without the lockup, 2850 with a 34.5-inch tire. So I could be down to 2850. If rules change, which we'll see if they do, then I could possibly be even lighter. But
and you could possibly be on smaller tires, is what I've heard too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they've been talking about possibly maybe not going from 36s down to 34s, maybe.
Well, if that's the case.
That's what's going on. But the rules aren't out yet either. So so who knows, really? But,
well, if that is the case, then I'll know right off the bat I'll be a little lighter. So I'll be able to get 50 pounds there. But whatever the case may be, I'll be compliant. But I'm going to keep the other stuff. I'm going to go race PDRA, run some Outlaw 10.5 stuff. I can do that. I'll still run this thing on small tire, on no prep, just like I would the Relic on any of the other stuff I run it on. Relic is a 420 car. I'll be honest, the car's been 420, 178 mile an hour. That was 2 years ago. It's actually faster now, but I haven't had anywhere to go get after it. But that's plenty to do what we do on the street in most cases, but not when you're going to MPK. That thing will get washed up, just get thrown away the trash.
And I gotta imagine when you think about doing, I mean, if you're thinking about considering doing the full season and going full go, I mean, you got to think about a crew. You're gonna have to have a crew with you, and I mean, and you've seen the schedule. The first 5 races, there's no weekends off. I mean,
Yeah,
it's brutal to start for
it
sure.
is. It is. That's going to be a tough part. A program with a good crew is going to make it tough, no question about it. But I'm interested, and I got my wife on board. I got a couple guys that are part of my team that are willing to travel. Hopefully, we can do it, and have enough spare parts to be able to be competitive. I think it's really the biggest part is being able to go fast, consistently, and have spare parts.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, spare parts is definitely huge in that
but
series.
honestly, spare parts are really tough to come by right now.
Hmm.
I've been trying to actually just pile them up for the races that are coming up now, just so I have them. And I've been struggling a little bit. I just contacted Billy Briggs. He was the original engine builder of the motor. He got back with me this week on some parts, and that's let me know he found everything so we can get what we need. But there's still stuff I need to get parts wise. I mean, thank God I brought some good players on board. We have Comp Turbos, and they're our sponsor, and they're our supplier of turbos for all of our cars, including the new car. And Pro Torque, Joe and Tom over there, they take care of us really well. And RC Comp we brought on this year. They sponsor us with our wheels, and they've been great. And Wayne Rogers with our transmission, he just went over some stuff and made some changes with the lockup setup. So hopefully we can be able to use the lockup, unlike some of these guys are not using it. But I'm hoping we'll be able to. So
Hmm.
he's been a big part of the process. And we brought on a couple new sponsors for this year too. Aki Restoration, we're doing the wiring and all for the car, and Empty Pockets Restoration and Collision out here in York, Pennsylvania. They're going to be painting the car. So we picked up some new people, and hopefully with all those people being on board, if we have a problem, hit a wall, have an issue, they can help us get back to where we need to be to get back out there and being competitive.
Yeah, yeah. I can tell you what, man. When I heard you were building another conquest and possibly doing no prep kings, I was like, hell yeah. I mean, because that's who you are, right? That's what everybody knows you as doing. And there's just so many first gen or new gen Camaros you can see race each other
Yeah,
every weekend. You know what I mean? So anybody that
yeah.
builds something outside the box, I'm all for it, man. So I was
Well,
glad to see that. Hopefully we get to see a conquest on no prep kings this year. That'd be
we
awesome.
appreciate it. We appreciate it, man. I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully, we'll be able to go out there and do our part. I tell you, man, I'm a sponge. Anything I get into, I definitely learn it the best that I can. TV included, like that big stage. It's a big stage you're on. You got to get used to learning how things are articulated and how you may portray yourself, because you don't want to come off wrong to your fans, and you want your fans to be able to follow you and appreciate what you're doing out there for them racing in your area. And it's new. Once you learn how to work the stage and be a part of it, you know it's a fun time. I can tell you that sometimes people, all racers, even the most recognized racers out there, like Ty Kelly, even they nickname guys like him, he's a great racer. I've had the luxury of racing him a couple times. I'm currently 2-0 with him on the street. And but he gets sometimes a name from critics only because maybe how he just articulated the situation, but he
Yeah.
probably didn't deserve it. But he's just a badass racer. You can't take that away from him. But
Right.
you're on a big stage. It's like you can't, if you get pissed and you yell "fuck" or you God damn, things are said. You don't mean to say it. It's just you're just
Yeah.
mad, and it comes out. And sometimes people get personable about it, and it sucks. But that, you got to, like you said, man, you got to take the good and the bad with it.
Yeah, for sure. What is your profession that will allow you to do all this traveling and racing the whole year?
So I own C2 Crane and Tree Service, and I own C2 Concrete, and I have a C2 Roll Off. So we just work contractor, man. We do pretty wild tree removal and tree pruning. We just, from a tree removal standpoint, some crazy, crazy stuff out here in Baltimore and Carroll County and Maryland and Pennsylvania. And then we have a concrete company where we do a lot of stamped concrete for residential and commercial properties, and do a lot of flat work. So we just have a few crews around each company, and it's a feast or famine business. This time of the year for us is slower, so it's tough. But it's It's what we do, man. We bank on snow. We used to plow snow in the wintertime, but we ain't had no snow out here, so we're not plowing any snow. But if there was snow, we'd be making some cheddar with that with that with that kind of money. But man, unfortunately, it hasn't been any. We definitely need it.
No, I know. I hear you, man. I'm in Wisconsin. We hardly have had any. It's crazy. We've hardly had any snow this winter, and it's like,
I mean, the truth is, I'm not complaining. I hate snow. If it was my choice, I live in Florida, but I was born and raised in Baltimore, man. I was in the Mid Atlantic. There was mornings we'd wake up, there'd be 3 foot of snow outside. You go to bed not even thinking you were going to see snow.
yeah,
So I'm kind of used to it. But when I get old enough, my kids are older, I'm gonna be a snowbird. You better believe it. I'm gonna be heading south.
yeah. If you're all right, Chris, we're gonna take maybe a couple of questions for people
Yeah.
watching. While we're waiting for that, over years now, especially obviously in the streets, have you created any rivalries with anybody? Any guys you line up and you're like, I got to beat this. I got to beat him every time.
So there is a rivalry. I don't want to say his name. I'm not giving him no props, but he's somebody who used to be part of my team with Team Northeast, and he's no longer part of the team.
Okay.
He basically just stabbed me in the back, to be quite honest with you, man. He tried to steal my thunder with the show, and unfortunately, I get it, man. His 2 pieces of pie weren't enough, but now it seems that when we line up, he's always trying to beat me. So he's always trying to prove to everybody that he can beat me. So all I have to do is just do my job and not lose. So I don't really feel like it's a competition. Like I got to go beat this guy,
Right.
but I just feel like I got to do my part, and just
for sure.
drive my car and be my driver. But other than that, man, not really. We do have a race coming up here at South Mountain. Tommy Reek's the local guy up here and from New York. He's fast. Him and I went to the finals in South Mountain race here this time last year, and it didn't go off. We hit a curfew in the night. So drag or die, Ken Hensel put on a race up here. It's in April 22nd, I think. Where him and I are going to basically have like a unfinished business race since we never got to race that final out. My son Caden went to the finals that night too. I had my tuning. We tuned our asses off that day. We never raced that track ever. I went to the finals and we didn't race it. And then Caden went to the finals with Lyle Barnett, and he unfortunately got taken out by Lyle in the finals in small tire. I don't really have any nobody in particular that I feel like I got to go chase after and beat anymore. I guess when I race at the show, anytime I run against anybody that's the elite, I just got to make sure that I do my part and take their head.
Yeah, for sure. There's a question from Greg McIntyre. It says, which one of the shows that you have been on was looks like most fun? What was the most fun show you've been on as far as Street Outlaws?
So Mega Caches is a blast. Mega Caches, I'd say, is the most fun.
Do you also stay in your toters, or do you rent hotel rooms? What do the most guys do?
We stay in our rigs. We all stay. I mean, I think it varies what people do. Some people got they go get the Airbnbs and they all, shack up together. Mm-hmm. And then some people that have their rigs bring them. If people know there's a lot of roads you're going to be testing on and going to try and get better feedback for the race roads, then they bring smaller cars and smaller trailers and usually get a place to stay in, so they don't have to use their toter to get them around town to them smaller roads. Mm-hmm. But when I go, I just take my rig. I usually got my family with me anyway, so we need our sleeping space. And it's once you get used to living in those things, man, they're comfortable. And I love my rig, man. I got a little Renegade, and I mean, don't get me wrong, I want a new one. You always want bigger, but it does. It's good.
Yeah. So you mentioned one of your sons is big into wrestling. Did you a long time ago? Were you into any sports when you were in high school or anything?
Baseball. I was a big baseball player. I didn't wrestle when I was a junior or senior, and I didn't wrestle in middle school like they did. They've been wrestling all since they were 6. They're gangsters, dude. These kids are some scrappers. All 3 of them. They're they're just never. You know what though? Unlike me, I was in trouble a lot in school, fighting and carrying on. They'd never been in any trouble, so I'm very, very lucky. They're good boys. No trouble, no fight, no carrying on. They're scholars, they're athletes, and my wife and I are very, very fortunate that they're such good kids. But as far as wrestling goes, my middle boy, Caden, he has an opportunity to probably go to a D1 or D2 school.
Awesome.
He wants to focus on wrestling, but he's a gangster football player too. He doesn't think
Oh
he says he's not playing next year, but he's got another thing coming. He's playing. My two Being able to watch my two oldest play varsity football together was awesome a couple years ago.
That's
So
cool,
it's pretty surreal.
Yeah. That's cool. We got one more question here. We'll post it here from Lawrence. It says, do you still work with Rumble Lane Rods in Pennsylvania?
Who is it?
Rumble Lane Rods.
Rumble Lane Rods. I don't know who that is.
Okay.
I'm terrible with names and I forget people, so he could be naming or asking me if I've worked with somebody that I've forgotten, but I never worked for anybody. So I've only had a couple of business. If you ask me who I've ever worked for, I worked for FW Haxton Company, which is a sign and banner company out of Baltimore when I was young. And then I worked for a mortgage company, learned numbers and the white collar industry very well when I was a little later in my life. And then I started my companies up about 16 years ago. So I haven't worked for anybody else ever named that. So he's asking me if I worked for them.
Okay. One more question. When you're not racing or working on your cars or watching your kids play sports or anything, what do you like to do?
Man, I used to be a real big hunter. I could take you down to my basement and show you a pretty wild game room. Big whitetail hunter, man. We got like 45 puppy young on my wall in the basement where we used to be big into hunting. I'm big into lifting weights, like training. It's just an enjoyment. I used to do a lot of bench press and squat and deadlift competitions and curl competitions over the years. And
Cool.
I don't do much of this much anymore. Don't have much time, but um, I don't honestly, man. Now it's either hitting the steel or I'm at work.
Yeah.
We're in the shop working on the race cars. That's about it, man. And family. We do a lot of traveling with wrestling and sports too. So that's
Yeah.
that's our life.
Hell yeah. Well, first, Chris, thank you so much for coming on the show tonight, man. I'm a big fan of yours. I'm going to hit up a bunch of No Prep Kings events next year. So hopefully you guys get it figured out and you're racing No Prep Kings, man, next year, man. That'd be great.
I appreciate it, man. We appreciate support. And, as you can see, Penske too, man, they got us this year too. They hooked us up, sponsored, take care of us. And you guys don't rock any of those guys I was telling you about. Penske, RC Comp Turbos, Hoosier, Pro Torque. There's a lot of other cats out there. There's always more than one way to skin a cat, but these are people that we use and we appreciate them, man. And there's a lot of other sponsors we run with the other cars, but this new car in particular this year, that's the guys that have been on board helping us out, and Aki Restoration with the wiring, Craig Harvey, and Empty Pocket Collision and auto repair. So hope, man, I hope we do good. I appreciate you guys looking to get some information from us and talk to us. Hope everybody enjoyed our time, and we'll catch up with you guys, man. I'm gonna make sure I tune in as much as I can to your podcast. We appreciate it.
All right. Appreciate that, Chris. Thank you so much, man.
Yeah,
Take it easy.
appreciate it, guys. Have a good night.